Hi, everybody. Welcome to this event on Selling with Ease, the mindset of a great salesperson. I am so excited that you guys are all here. People are coming on, so we'll let everyone come on. But as you're coming on, let me know where you are from and if you own your own business. So where are you from and do you own your own business? You can put that in the chat. Great. So where you're from, do you own your own business? And we'll give everyone a second to still come on. So Megan is from Toronto, and yes, she owns her own business. Welcome, Megan. Welcome to the call. Welcome, everybody. For those popping on, just let us know where you're from, and if you own your own business, type it in. I'm so excited to get started. The other thing that you can also type in is, how do you feel about selling? How do you feel about selling? Whitney's in Toronto. She's an employee. Well, welcome, Whitney. You're going to get so much out of today as well. Yeah, you're welcome. And how do you guys feel about selling? Evan, how are you? It's so good to have you here. And Evan loves selling. That's amazing, Evan. And Susan is from Saskatoon. She has her own business. Hey, Susan. Jen, so great to have you here. Oh, I love Jen's business. Jen has an amazing business with such a great story behind it. Jackie has a gluten-free food program. Susan is learning to love selling. And Evan doesn't have audio or video. That's okay. That's great. Good. Okay, how about we get started, guys? What do you think? Shall we get started here? Let's get started. Okay, so I've asked the question of how many of you own your own business. Now, for those of you in Canada, there are 130,000 new businesses created every year in Canada. Here's my question to you. How many do you think survive 5 years? What percentage do you think survive 5 years? Put that in the chat. See what we have here. Evan says 20%, 10%. Okay, great. 20, 10, 5. Susan, 5. Trista says 30. Well, Trista, you are the closest. The stats show that 35% survive to 5 years. But here's the thing. We don't know if they're even profitable. So they've made it 5 years, but I would be curious to know, are they profitable at 5 years? Are they, are they just breaking even at 5 years? What's the situation? So the first order of business is profit. This is something that my mentor had taught me. And too many times people ignore the money. They have never really been clear on what they need to live and what they need to even run their business. Can you relate to that? And then you add in the fact that so many people are not comfortable with sales. They don't like selling. In fact, they don't even want to be called a salesperson. I know that I felt that way. And they will think of everything to not think of themselves as a salesperson. And of course, what does that do? Well, that affects the sales in your business. And so you can think, like, how many of you feel like you've got an amazing product or service? Great. So many of you are, you guys are raising your hands saying that you've got. Trista does, Jackie does. Okay, so here's the thing. You can have the best product or service out there, but if you don't love selling, it's not going to matter. And this is why, if you really do, like Jackie, you with your gluten-free food program, if you really feel like it is something that can enhance the quality of people's lives, I would say to you that it is your obligation to learn to love selling and to become a really effective salesperson. Because here's the thing, when it comes to selling, selling is first and foremost an inside job. It really is. And to be honest, I think that's the good news, because then we don't have to think that anything outside of us has to change. And I want to be very transparent. I am here to sell each and every one of you on the call today. I actually want to sell you on the fact that you can fall in love with selling. I want to sell you on the fact that you can start to really look at yourself as a professional salesperson, and that's going to make a difference in your bottom line and how you feel about selling. And here's the great thing, is when this happens, it's like things just start clicking. And then you're able to do more, have more, be more, and best of all, give more. So this is what we're going to cover today. This is how I'm going to do all of this. We're going to cover who you must sell first to increase your sales. We're going to look at the part of your mind that is actually controlling your sales. And we're going to look at key selling habits and traits. So get pen and paper if you don't have. I really want you to take tons of notes during this presentation. And you also will be given a replay, but especially around the key selling habits and traits, let's make sure we lock this in to how you show up. Okay, so before we dive into everything, I'll introduce myself for those of you that I don't know. My name is Hina, and I am a registered psychotherapist and a peak performance coach. I'm often called on upon a variety of TV shows. I am a sought-after speaker, expert, and coach to speak about things like habits, beliefs, and behaviors, and what does it really take for transformation. So many times people come to me because they have started their own business, or maybe they've been in business for years and they've started their own business. And what they realize is that they had this yearning because they wanted to have control over their schedules. Let me know if you can relate to this. They wanted to make more money, not have a ceiling. And they really wanted to have agency. Like they didn't want to think, well, can I take vacation at this time? Can I not? So that's why many people start their own business. But the reality is of what happens is that actually there's a lot of guilt. Low sales are keeping them up at night, and they're stressed out and they don't feel in control and at ease. And we feel like we started for the right reasons, but it's kind of not happening. And let me know if you can relate to this. There are even times when you have pangs for that 9-to-5 day job, when you have pangs for the idea of that paycheck being deposited into your account every 2 weeks. You just want to break from having to do everything, including the selling. And there can be a lot of guilt because you feel like your family life is suffering as well. So that was me. So this is why I can relate to that. And I'm wondering, is that you? Does any of that resonate with you? Well, I can tell you what made a big difference for me was working with a mentor. Working with a mentor, and in my case, it was Bob Proctor. What that really did for me was collapse time, because they can give you a perspective that you can't see because you're in the thick of it and because you're in the weeds sometimes. And it's so interesting because a couple of weeks ago, I was at Bob's house, and I swear I got so much out of just 15 minutes with him that I could have left. But I was like, no, I've driven here. I will be staying for a little bit longer. But, what I really want you to know, I want you to know this, I'm talking to you, is that everything that I suggest to you today is what I have done. I have had to work on this on me, and it hasn't been comfortable at times. I've been really uncomfortable. I've had to put my ego to the side, but I just knew that I had to do something different if I wanted better results, and I should listen to someone that has those better results. And so what I want for you today is I want to collapse time for you. I want you to become aware of how to build a business, build a life that you love without adding hours to your day and sacrificing time in your family. So the first thing we honestly have to do is get honest. We've got to get honest about where we are. And this is where you want to make sure you have pen and paper. So here we go. Did you make your financial goal in 2019? How much would you like to make this year? How much would you like to make this year? And finally, knowing what you know about your product or service, how much do you think you should make? Knowing what you know about your product or service, how much do you think you should make? Now, what I'm curious about is, between number 2 and number 3, which number is higher? How much you would like to make, or how much you think you should make based on your product or service? Which one is higher, 2 or 3? Susan says 3. Great. Which one is higher? 3, Sylvie says. Oh, Evan, it's the same number, but added a plus to 3. Craig 3, Jen 3, Lisa 3, Trista about the same, Amy the same. Okay, so here's the interesting thing. I'm not surprised that for many of you, the number, the third one was higher, because sometimes when we think, how much would I like to make this year? We actually sometimes aim lower because of, it brings up things about our own worth, what we think our value is. But when we separate ourselves out of it and we look at our product or service and we're like, dang it, our product or service is so good and it helps so many people, then we think based on that, we should be making a lot more. So isn't that interesting? Because I don't think many of us get into business thinking, I don't want to make a profit. Lord, if I get to 5 years, great. If I don't, no biggie. No, we really feel a calling. You know, this is not for the faint of heart. This kind of work takes courage. You're putting yourself out there in a really big way. But yet, sometimes it's the selling that keeps us back, that keeps us from even sharing what we do. And it can be so frustrating. And it always makes me think of the story of the fly. So I'm just going to share this story with you quickly. This was a story that Price Pritchett talks about in the book U Squared. Paul, maybe you could put the book for everybody so that they can pick it up or order it. It's U Squared by Price Pritchett, just a tiny little book. And he talks about this fly. So he's sitting in a room at the Millcroft Inn, which is about an hour out of Toronto. And he says he's watching the life or death struggle of a fly. This fly is banging against the window, trying to get out. And the fly is doomed. It's going to die there on the windowsill. But yet, 10 feet away, there is a door that is open. 10 seconds of flying time, and this fly could seek the outside world, could be in the outside world that it seeks so badly. But it's just hell-bent on this one way. Why did it get so focused that this was the one way to do things? And it will die there on the windowsill. It is doomed. And what Price Pritchett goes on to say is that this fly is doomed, and we are doomed when we are hoping for a breakthrough while doing more of the same. Isn't that good? How many of us have been hoping for a breakthrough, but we feel like we're banging our head against the wall as we're hoping for a breakthrough of more of this, and we end up just with more of the same. So, you know, sometimes I'll get a call from my client and they'll be like, Hina, can we quickly get on a call, or email me? I'm feeling like the fly. And it's because they need another perspective. They're just feeling so locked into that one way. How many times have you felt like the fly, or have you felt like the fly before? Maybe you feel like the fly right now. I know that I certainly have felt like the fly. And there's still times, and whenever I do, I'm always saying to myself, okay, where is that open door? Where's that open door? Where's that open door? So this this next hour is for you. And honestly, my hope for you is that this is your open door. I want this to be your open door, and that this gives you that other perspective that you need to really make 2020 the best year yet. So this next hour is for you if you are sick and tired of inconsistency with your sales. If low sales keeps you up at night. If you feel stuck in your business. And you know that like deep down, you know that you've got such a great product or service, and you know that you could be doing a lot better. Because let's face it, there are people, because I do know some of you, there are people in your space right now that aren't as talented as you are, that don't have the skill set that you have, but they're doing better. They're getting better results. So what I want to promise you today is that today is your open door. And you know, I say this from experience. I had to get honest of where I was and where I wanted to be. Oh my gosh, you should have been there during my first, I was going to say first few, but unfortunately it was a lot more than a few sales conversations. So it was so uncomfortable as I am talking, and as they are talking, I'm making assumptions. So tell me if you can relate to this, or maybe I'm just alone, but I'm making assumptions like, oh, they won't be able to afford it. This is not going to happen. I'm scared to tell them what it's going to cost. And this is honestly what's going through my head. And then it comes time to share what I do. And this is where it gets really uncomfortable. This is where it gets cringy, as my kids would say, because as I share what I'm going to do, I start to trip over my words. I'm not confident as I'm sharing it. I don't feel comfortable with the price. And honestly, I would have paid them to end the meeting. Can you guys relate to that? Have you had some awkward sales conversations in your life? Okay, good. So you guys are raising your hands. You're with me. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. It was almost like, you know, like in a movie where the lights go down low and like ominous music comes up. That's what it felt like. It was so uncomfortable because you guys have to remember, I come from a psychotherapy background. I did not get into this to sell people. I went into this business to help people. That's all I want to do. It's still all I want to do. But then it kind of dawned on me that I have to sell people. And I was really kind of pissed off about that. I didn't realize that part of it. And I was not comfortable with it. I wasn't comfortable at all. And I'm sure many of you have read books and you've gone to trainings and things like that. But the truth is that if that worked, we would all be much further ahead, right? If that really worked, because we're always listening to stuff. We're absorbing so many things. And here's what I say to people. I say, pick a mentor and go deep with that. I think the problem is that everything is so diluted. We're listening to so many different things. But if that's what it took, then we would be much farther ahead and businesses would be doing a lot better. So imagine if you took that number. So for some of you, that's number 3. Evan, for you, whatever that higher number was, I want you to take that number and double it in your mind and write that number down. And I want you to just look at that number. And now what I want you to do is with that number, just close your eyes for a moment if you can. Unless you're driving, please don't close your eyes. But if you're able to close your eyes, close your eyes. And I want you to bring your family to mind. What would that number, how would that impact your family? You can also write this down if you want. What are some things that you would do with your family? And I want you to think about your work, your professional life. If you were generating that kind of revenue, what would you still be working in the same environment? Where would you be working? Would you have a team or a couple of other people? Would you be driving to work if you do drive in a different car? So you're doubling your revenue. So even just think about what your role would be. Would your role be different at that level? And now I want you to bring to mind, and you can again write it down, one of your favorite charities, one of your favorite causes. And think that if you were consistently bringing in that amount of money, what would be the donation that you would be making? How much would you be donating? Okay. If you had your eyes closed, you can open your eyes. What was that like to go into that place of possibility? Type it into the chat for me. Oh, Jen says complete. I love that, Jen. And I know where you would be donating because that cause is part of your business. Safe, beautiful. I love what's coming up for you. A fantastic feeling. Freedom and joy. Love that. Fulfilled, peace and joy. Peace. So exciting. Light. Oh, so light. Like just, feeling no weight, stress free. Absolutely. So let's get you there. Oh, I love Tony. Freedom and fulfillment, relaxation, Jackie says. Let's get you there because this is what money is great for. Money gives us options. I always say money is a choice multiplier. And, you know how fast the years go by, right? Like now it's 2020 and I already feel like we're in the thick of it. It already feels like 2019 was so long ago. Your time is now. All those things that came into your mind, it could not have come to your mind if it was not possible for you. Let me say that again. You could not get the idea of whatever vision, whatever beautiful image you saw, that image, just on the fact that that image came to you means it's possible for you. I've helped hundreds of clients create incredible results. And the great thing is that it's what I said when you were imagining. It's not just about you. It's about your family, your friends, the people that you can employ, the impact that you can make, your legacy. But it all starts with a decision. And this was something I had to really, remember when I said I had to kind of put my ego to the side and I had to have my own come to Hina moment with myself. I had to realize that my revenue was my responsibility. It wasn't the economy. It wasn't the season. It wasn't the market or any other external circumstances that I could blame. It was me. So the good news was that I was also the solution because I was the problem. But I had to make a decision to take responsibility for the sales in my business. And that's what I want to ask each and every one of you to do today, is take 100% responsibility for the sales in your business. Because when you do that, you must flip it. And I have to tell you, I love selling now. I love it. And I love being sold to. I love being asked to buy. I enjoy it. There's a real freedom that comes from that, especially as an entrepreneur, because then you can start to create consistency in your revenue. and you know how to do it. And when you know how to do it, you become confident, prosperous, and abundant. So let's get started. Who you must sell first to increase your sales. Who do you think you have to sell first? Put it in the chat. Who do you have to sell first? Yeah, you guys all got it. That's right. Yourself, me. I have to sell me first. You have to sell you first. And I think many times when people are having trouble with sales, they are not fully sold themselves. So, are you in love with your product or service? And Cliff says you have to believe it. That's right, Cliff. So Cliff, are you in love with your product or service? You have to be head over heels in love with your product or service. If you are not, then then what I would suggest is write the benefits of your product or service and really connect to it, connect with your why. And this may sound harsh, but if you can't do that, then find something else. Find something else that you can be in love with, because it's going to come out, I promise you, in your conversations. Do you believe in your prices? Ooh, you know what? So many times people will say to me, do you think I should be charging this? What do you think I should be charging? And it doesn't matter what I think. You have to be aligned with your prices. So does your product or service, with what you're charging, does it reflect the value of what you're getting? You know, so this is what I want you to ask yourself. At some level, do you feel like you're charging too much or too little? This is important because it's going to play into your sales conversations. So do you have any discomfort around your price? So now just bring your price to mind, even right now. Any discomfort around that? Check in with yourself. Because I promise you, and we're going to get into this, that's what people are picking up on. You want to put out a price that makes you feel valuable. You want to work with people that value what you bring. You know, I work with all different types of people, but this relates to everybody. You know, if I don't believe in the value of what I'm offering, you're not going to believe it. And that's the same for your clients and customers. If you don't really believe in it, they're not going to believe in it. So you want to resonate fully with what you're charging. So, you know, right now, again, think about it. Do you feel like your price, do you feel like you're charging the right price? I'm curious about that. Put that in the chat if you feel like you are charging the right price. So yes or no? Yes, Susan says. Okay. So others saying no, no. For the most part, yes. Yes, we are. Okay, so we've got a mix here. Some no and some yes, some not enough, but have not found my ideal client. Oh my gosh, that's such a great point. And I'm going to talk to you about that now. Well, in another second. So right now, this has actually nothing to do with your ideal client. I know, this is crazy, right? It has nothing to do with your ideal client or your potential clients. Right now, at this moment, you are selling yourself. Once this is in your bones, your conversations are going to shift. Many times, what happens is, I find a lot of people are undervaluing their services. So this happened to one of my clients. I'll tell you about her. She was undervaluing her services. So guess who she was attracting? So this is for the person that talked about not finding their ideal client. Because she was undervaluing her services, she was attracting people that were undervaluing her services. I'm sure some of you completed that sentence. And once she changed this, her sales increased, and she was working with people that really valued what she did. So those ideal clients, they could come to her when she started charging more, when she started charging what she should have been charging. Now, here was the problem though. Anytime you are going to go for something of a higher nature, you are letting go of something of a lower nature. You are invoking the law of sacrifice. So that means that so for my client, for example, she has said, okay, I'm raising my prices. I'm restructuring my packages. So she's done that. There is this time where it's very chaotic because she's still getting people that she was attracting before that are not her ideal clients, that are challenging her on price. Those people are still coming. And part of her is going to be like, oh man, I should just go maybe because I know it's money, like it's here. And she's got to weather that and hold firm on her new packages, her new prices. And then what starts to happen is then those people start to come and then there's a time where they're both there. But then over time, what happens, and this is what happened with her, the people that are nickel and diming her, the people that weren't her ideal clients, they no longer show up because she's not in harmony with that. And we're going to get into that. But does that make sense? That for any of you after this call, let's say you guys make the decision that you're going to restructure your packages or your pricing for whatever your product or service is, understand that there's going to be a time where you're not going to see the evidence of that working out. In fact, you'll be able to measure what you will lose, but you're not going to be able to measure right away what you will gain. And this is why the greats in any industry invest in themselves. This is why, because you have to have a mindset to weather that uncertainty and not just default to old ways of doing things, because at least you know and it's comfortable even though you don't like it. Do you have a mindset to weather this? And so this is what you want to understand, is that is where the work is. I promise you. I promise each and every one of you on the call that nothing outside of you has to change for you to see dramatic results. When you start to change the inside, the outside does start to change. So okay, I'm gonna get very excited. What is important is what is going on inside the mind of the salesperson. That is what is responsible for your results. Let me tell you about Megan. Megan is hilarious. We had a lot of fun working together. She's in direct sales. She had been at the same level of sales for 2 years. Maybe some months she would go over, but then the next month she would go under. So at the end of the year, she would level off at the same amount. Can you guys relate to that, where your results are have pretty much plateaued? That was Megan. She was able to double her monthly sales. She was able to do that. Now, how did she do that when for 2 years she was at the same level? That's what we're going to talk about today. She was promoted to the next level of management and she earned herself a car bonus. But she had to first sell herself. Here was the dialogue that was happening in her mind. Well, if I really go for it and if I'm going to double, it's going to be really hard. I'm going to lose time with my family. Maybe I don't really need it. Staying where I am is not too bad. I'm making a good income. So anytime she would maybe make a bit of headway, she would move back. And then a bit, and then she would just end up plateauing. So the first thing she had to do was she had to sell herself, and she had to make a decision and take responsibility for her results, not blame her children, not blame her family, not blame her husband or the environment or the industry. She had to take responsibility for her results and make a decision. Am I doing this or no? So let's recap what we learned so far. Who do you have to sell? You. You've got to be in alignment with your price. And you have to fall in love with your product or service. And again, if you're not, write out the benefits of what it is that you provide. You know, I've spoken to some of you, and I know what you do for people. And I know that you make an impact, and what you do really matters. And you know the term, I got to get out of my own way? This is an example of that. Stop robbing people of what you have to offer because you're uncomfortable. Sometimes I have to just stop myself and take that in. Stop robbing other people of your gifts, of your talents, because you're uncomfortable. That's going to be what we talk about next. The part of your mind that is controlling your results. Most of us are running on a programming. We are all running on a programming. It's just a matter of percentage. Are we running 90% of our day on a programming? The majority of people are. And what that means is, let's face it, when you got up in the morning, many of you reached for your phone. Many of you did. And if you were to put the phone in another room tonight, tomorrow, when you get up, you would still reach for your phone because it's part of your programming. It's a habit. And, you know, we just bought a new car and it's an automatic, it's one of those ones that you push the button to start the engine. I can't tell you how many times I would get in and automatically be doing this because it was my programming. It was my habit. I had done it so many times that it became automatic and I didn't even have to think about it. That is what you are running on. Now, some of those habits are serving you, some of your automated habits, but many of them are not. And some of those automated habits are not even the things that you do, but it's the things that you say to yourself because your inner talk is expressed externally. How you feel about yourself is being expressed in your environment. That's why this is so important. So what this is a paradigm. This is what I'm talking about. I really want you to understand this. Here's what a paradigm is: a series of beliefs, ideas, and values and habits that's a way of thinking about the real world. What you believe is possible in your industry and in your own business is a result of beliefs, of programming. They may not even be true. Some of you are saying to yourself, and I know it, I'm too old. Some of you are saying I'm too young. Some of you are saying, oh, I wish I had started earlier. Some of you are saying, oh, I can't really do anything until this, and this happens. That is all your programming. And it's not necessarily true. Where is the programming? It's in your subconscious mind, okay? And an example here is aviation. So the Wright brothers, they get us into the sky, but remember the general paradigm or belief of the society was that humans couldn't fly. You know, there was a time when the general feeling was that the world is flat. There was a time until Roger Bannister broke the record that it was thought that you cannot run a mile in under 4 minutes. That still holds true for me. But having said that, that was a paradigm that's broken. And here's what's interesting about Roger Bannister. As soon as he broke that record and ran the mile in under 4 minutes, other people did it and even beat his time because now the paradigm was shifted. Now we had a whole new belief of what was possible. So you got to start questioning your beliefs because some of you people are believing things that are holding you back. So if we want to change our results, we've got to change our programming and we've got to get to the root cause. Think of it like a computer. I mean, seriously. Oh, good Lord, the updates, every you know, of how many times you can update your phone, you can update your phone. And when you don't update it, you're not running effectively. You're not running productively. And so many of times we are running our businesses, we're running our life on old programming, on stuff that was repeated to us since we were little. And I'm even talking about stuff that may have been repeated of, oh, you don't really finish things. Like, think about it, things that are that you've now just adopted as true for you, but they may not be true. Or maybe they were true at one time, but they're not true now. And you've changed. History puts limits on us. So here's the problem. The problem is when we are asked to think about what the mind looks like, this is what we get. But if I was to ask you right now, you know, what color is your fridge, for example? What a color would come to your mind? Your fridge would come to your mind. And if I was to ask you, is the freezer on the bottom or on the top? You would have a thought about that. You would have an image. And that's because cells of recognition have gone off in your mind and an image has come up, even if it was for a split second. An image came up for me of my fridge upstairs right now as I was saying that. But when we think about what does the mind look like, we don't have a picture until now. And I love this because I was just doing a live event in Toronto, and the person, I was on a call with them, and they were like, oh my gosh, this drawing, it all of a sudden made sense. This drawing is going to bring order into your mind. And I know it looks like my kids did it, but it was actually Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1934. And God bless his heart, because this drawing has helped me and helped so many people, millions of people, really. So this is how I want you to start to think of yourself. And this is how I want you to look at everybody else. They've got a conscious mind, a subconscious mind, and the body. And look at how big that mind is, or how big the head is. The reason is because we're always so focused on our body. So he wanted to make the point of the fact that everything starts with the mind and it's all connected. So the part of your, so the conscious mind is the thinking mind. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this the language of the brain. The subconscious mind is the feeling mind. He calls that the language of the body. And of course, then we have the body. So here's what it looks like. Energy just is. So you choose your thoughts, but you've got, so you may have a thought that you want to increase your sales. Your thoughts can cause your feelings. And that could also, in your subconscious mind, you could feel like, oh, but if I increase my sales, I'll be working too hard. It'll take time away from my family. I can't do it. You could have all of these negative thoughts. Whatever those feelings are in the subconscious mind, if you can look on the diagram, that is what moves your body into action. So we have thoughts, feelings, actions, and then that's what leads to your results. Whatever is in your bank account right now, this was the process it went through. You think the process was you made a deal, you sold something, and that's how your money came to you. This is how it actually happened. The good news is that this is where you can, this is how we can change it as well. So you don't get what you want. I really want you to hear this. You don't get what you want. You get how you feel about what you want. You can want to double your sales, but if you have negative feelings towards it, you will procrastinate, self-sabotage, and you will make excuses. So again, you have a thought. Your thought becomes an idea. The idea causes emotion, but before it goes into your subconscious mind, you can accept it or reject it. And then it's the emotion that alters the vibration. And we're going to go into this deeper now. So let's look at the results of 2019. Remember, we said we had to get honest. So take a look at the result that you made in 2019 for sales or revenue for your business. And let's say that was 150,000. Just by that, I know that you were thinking the thoughts of a person that makes 150,000. That you moved into the feelings, you had the feelings of the person making 150,000, you moved into the actions of a person making 150,000, and you got the result. It means that you're mixing with those types of people, probably also at that level. So when it comes to your sales, you are running on a programming. So if we want to change it, we have to learn how to override your paradigm. That's, remember Megan, I told you about her at 2 years at the same level. She had to override her current paradigm. The problem is not your goal. All those things that you imagined in the beginning, the money you would give away, what you would do for your family, how doubling your sales would affect you, that is available to you, but not at your current level of thinking. So the problem is not the goal. The problem is not your industry. The problem is your current level of thinking. The problem is your paradigm. So what happens is selling, it's not only about selling here. It's also about money. How you feel about money. How you feel about how much you should be making. That's why I asked that question. How much you feel you are worthy of making. And you know what? You didn't necessarily decide that. It was passed down to you from the way that salespeople, the way you thought about them or they were talked about, the way that money was in your home, in your community, in your culture. Was money easy? Was money hard to come by? Was it stressful in your house when you think of yourself as a little boy or a little girl? What was the atmosphere like in your home when it came to money? If money was a person in your life, how would you describe that person? Put some things in the chat. If money was a person in your life, how would you describe that person? Because this has everything to do with your numbers. So we've got moody, we've got difficult. What else? Sometimes-ish, angry, taboo, volatile, poor, and beautiful, silent and unattentive, saving. So these are all the things you guys have expressed. So here's what I want you to think about. Take what you said. So difficult, volatile. Would you want to have this person in your house? Would you be inviting money in? If money was this type of person, would you be inviting them in? Would you be welcoming them and inviting them to stay? Or when they came in, would you be like getting rid of them quickly because you couldn't stand to be around them? You know, when people say that money burns a hole in their pocket, it's like they can be making more, but they have a programming that doesn't allow them to keep it. So this is where we have to make the change. That is getting to the root cause. It's negative and limiting beliefs. So you may want to increase your sales. Let's say you want to double your sales. Like you want to double, triple, quadruple. Doesn't matter. You really want to stretch this year. But then these thoughts come in. Who am I to do this? It will be really hard. What will others think? What if I fail? And here's a big one. I don't want to be greedy. Can you guys add to that list? If you want to increase your sales, you've got to start thinking and deciding what you want to believe and what you no longer want to believe. What is no longer serving you. And that is going to determine how 2020 is going to unfold for you. That is going to determine whether we meet in a year from now and it's exactly the same in your bank account, or if you were able to write some pretty fun checks, really big checks to some causes. This is where you have to take responsibility. I can't do it for you. I can't, Jim Rohn said it, I can't do your push-ups for you. I can't do it for you. Bob Proctor, he can't do it for me. I had to have a hard look at myself in the mirror. And I had to make this decision. Also another limiting belief that comes up for some of you in the chat here is, what if my family suffers because I'm too busy? That's a belief that growing your business means it will take time away from your family. So what we need to do is make the decision of what we're going to choose to believe. So even in that case, what if my family suffers because I'm too busy? What would be another belief that would be more empowering? And I can tell you something, I involve my family in my goals. I tell them about it. I tell them the big goals that I'm going for. So when I work with clients, this is a big part of it. And this is what takes commitment. This is the part that really takes a lot of courage. Because although those beliefs are not serving us, it's a part of who we are. So to let that go is like letting go a part of ourselves. So, and that's actually what has to happen. This self-image of, those words, those limiting beliefs, it has to die. It literally has to die. And that's why the ego will hold on. And that's why the subconscious mind, those paradigms, it's like an elephant, whereas the conscious mind is an ant. It's going to hold on for dear life. It's going to hold on for dear life. And it's what you know, and it's what you're comfortable with. And some of you, when you guys are going for big numbers, you're changing the paradigm in your family. Oh, I love this one that was just written in, not being able to handle the volume of business coming in and then losing it. Yes, what if I can't deliver excellent value and service at the numbers coming in? Some of us have actually also created a habit of not going for what we really want, for just asking for a little bit, doing a little bit better. So maybe 2020, I'll do, I don't know, a 1%, a 2% increase would be great. We were in the habit of abandoning things. We're in the habit of not seeing it through. And I love what Trista wrote. She wrote it to everybody, that just like in that previous comment, she said, I'm always worried about that, even though the reality is that it isn't a concern. I have very happy customers. But Trista, this is the power of your subconscious mind. It's tricking you. It's still playing on you, planting seeds of doubt. And this is how the seeds of doubt, here's what it looks like. It looks like this. So let's say, Trista, you wanted to increase your sales and serve more customers. So, and then you get that doubt of, oh my gosh, maybe I won't be able to handle the volume. I won't be able to give good service. So that's the thought. And then there's an image, because we think in pictures, remember, Trista? There's an image that comes to mind, which is of a person maybe writing a bad review, or of a person calling you saying they want their money back, or letting you know that you have not given them good service. So then what happens is we actually then we attach a person to it, a name to it. We've got a whole avatar for that person. And you're right, sneaky subconscious. What did Bob call it? Oh gosh, I can't remember. But he says like the paradigm is like a con man, but there was a word that he had used for it, but I can't remember. So the leap, guys, here's what I want you to know. How are we for time? Oh my goodness, I've got to get quicker here. Okay, so the leap is a psychological one. So Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote this book, another book to pick up, Psycho-Cybernetics. It's phenomenal. And what he realized is that we have mechanisms, servo mechanisms, just like machines do. And so he called this book Psycho-Cybernetics, like this I call our Psycho-Cybernetics. And the way that it works is, think of your sales like a thermostat. So for Megan, remember, her sales were the same at for 2 years. Her selling thermostat of what she could make was set at that. So even if she did well at the beginning of the year, she would level off. Why would she level off? Because in her mind, she reached her goal. It's like a furnace, you turn on the furnace, you put it in the setting. Even if cool air comes into the house, it's going to go back to its setting. But once it reaches its setting, it stops. So that's what happens for you with your actions. If you're used to making a certain amount in sales a month, then once you reach that, you're going to stop. And how that shows up, you're not going to feel like you stopped it. You're not going to feel relaxed. You're not going to feel like, woo, I've stopped. But you're going to stop moving into the actions required to double it. So you're going to procrastinate, self-sabotage. You're going to feel like you hit your goal. So you can meet that friend for lunch. You can do other things. So we have to change your setting. We've got to change your thermostat, your financial thermostat. So if you want to change it, you've got to change it at the subconscious level. And some of you are saying that that you've been there. And that's right. You're absolutely right. Some of you are also saying it's sabotage when you start going backwards and you do less. Oh my gosh. And then you feel bad about yourself and you're like, why can't I do this? I hit most of my goal at the beginning of the year. I had the best first quarter. Why is it at the end of 4 quarters, I'm sitting kind of in the same spot, maybe with a little bit of a gain, and we beat ourselves up for it. But it's because we didn't change the thermostat setting in the subconscious mind and we're confused about it. So we've got to start by changing your beliefs. So that's your financial thermostat. Okay. Everything is on frequency. So I love this here. Just imagine that your goal, the G is goal, and that's 800,000. And right now your results are at 150,000. Your goal of 800,000 exists right now. If you are not making it, it's because you are not on the frequency of it. You don't have the self-image of the person making 100,000. You're not thinking 800,000. You're not thinking the thoughts. You don't have the feelings or the actions. Hence, you don't have the results. Remember Megan, when she doubled her sales, it wasn't like all of a sudden a new, there was busloads of people that came to Toronto that weren't here before and that decided they wanted her product. Those people were here. They were here. She had to line up to them. She had to tune into them. Think of Wi-Fi settings. Think of when you go to, a coffee shop. You have to plug in to the right frequency to get onto that level, to be able to access the information, to be able to access the Wi-Fi. That's what you've got to do with your goal. So, okay, let's keep going here. Oh, let me tell you about Emily. Emily was and is a photographer. She quadrupled her profits. Again, busloads of people didn't come in all of a sudden wanting to work with her. She shifted her thinking, her frequency, and plugged into the type of clients that she wanted to work with. She raised her prices, changed her packaging. She gained mental clarity. She got control over all elements of her business. And the best time is she is present with her family. She's in an industry, she does family photography and branding, where you work a lot of weekends. Well, I asked her to come to something that I'm doing on a weekend, and she can't because she's skiing with her family, because that's the life that she created. Was that life always available to her? Hell yes. Why didn't she have it? She was not aware of it. She was not aware of it. Okay, so let's look at what we learned. Okay, what we first learned is that Hina gets worked up. The other thing we learned was that the subconscious mind controls your sales. And I hope that this actually makes you feel a little bit better, a little lighter, to know that this is where the root cause is. Replacing negative limiting beliefs with empowering ones. And so important. Get on the frequency of your goal. So for those of you that had thoughts of like, how would I handle the volume? You want to get on the frequency of the goal. So how would the person that has that kind of volume, how do they structure their days? Because you're thinking of it from where you are now, from where you are right now and how you're running your business right now. You're absolutely right. All that volume could be detrimental. But when you learn how to switch that, then you're going to figure out the way, the how is going to come through that. So a question is, when I'm going for big stuff, do I also change the paradigm of my relationship to myself? 120,000% you do, Jen. You have to change the relationship to how you see yourself, because your current self-image, how you feel about yourself, is a match to where you are. It is not a match to where you want to go. So you have to change that. Okay, before we have one more thing to do. I'm sorry, guys. I hope you can stay on. We do have a recording. So before we get into key selling habits and traits, I did this last time. The calls went like that, but I want to invite some of you. This isn't for all of you. This is for those that are ready to have an honest conversation about what you really want in 2020. Okay, so it's a strategy call that I'm offering you. We're going to clarify what you want. We're going to uncover what is holding you back. And we are going to give you a strategy to make 2020 the best year of your life. So there's only 7 spots available. Like I said, they went really fast last time. So here's what I want you to do. You can put your phone up right now to this QR code, but we're also going to put it in the chat as well. So there it is. It's in the chat right now. Click on it and book your call. And we'll talk about this. We'll talk about what needs to happen for you to tell me, January 22nd, 2021, Hina, oh my gosh, you won't believe what has happened. I love asking that question. And I love hearing the answers for it. Okay, we got to keep going, guys. So I'm going to move off of this slide. Key selling habits and traits. Okay, here's the thing that great salespeople, peak performers do. They write out their goal every day. Do you even have a goal? Do you know what your goal is? Do you write it out? Is it on paper or is it in your head? You write out your goal every day. They have a calendar that reflects their goal. Okay, this is really important. Let's say the goal is 10 new clients this month. How many people are you meeting with? When are you following up? How many networking events do you go to? All of that. Now people will put that in their calendar when they have the event to go to, when they have the sales calls to make. No, you've got to put that in your calendar now. So block off the time, have a calendar that reflects your goals. And let's say you have a prospecting call that is in your calendar, but on the day you don't have that call. That does not mean call up Susan, not Susan on the call, I'm just using Susan, to go for lunch. Then you think of, okay, then you sit quietly and you see who comes to mind. How can you be of service? Maybe you reach out to a current client of yours that you just want to check in with or help. They practice. Fear is an indicator that you do not know what you're doing. Fear is an indicator that you don't know what you're doing. You haven't practiced enough. Do simulations, practice your conversations. And when you do this, you are prepared for the opportunity when it presents itself. Oh, yay, some of you write out your goals. Amazing. Okay, they genuinely want to help people. Remember I said that's all I want to do? It's all I want to do. When we get new clients, all I want to do is for them to reach their goal. That's it. So whatever your product or service is, you've genuinely got to want to help people. Now here's a big one. I don't know if you're going to agree. Maybe you won't, but I believe this. You believe in your product or service so much that you would go into debt for it yourself. And remember I said to you, I don't ask anybody to do something that I haven't done. You know, I have invested in myself. I can't ask people to invest in me if I haven't done it. So for your product or service, do you use it? Do you stand by it? And they are persistent. You've got to be persistent. But you know, this comes to Jen's question about your relationship to yourself. You have to have a self-image that is resilient, that can deal with disappointment, that can see that rejection is not about you, the person, it's about the offer. That's how you've got to be. I love this quote by Albert E. Gray. This is something you want to write down. The common denominator of success. So he looked at successful people and he said the common denominator is that successful people do the things that failures don't like to do. There's a lot of stuff that you're not going to want to do. It's not going to be pleasant, but you do it because you're so connected to that goal that you write down every day. You can have money or you can have excuses, but you can't have both. And when you really get this and you take 100% responsibility in your life, this is when you can really create the life that you want. You know, for me, when you guys were doing that imagining, I saw one of my goals come to fruition, and that was taking my family, paying for everybody to go to a luxury villa in Jamaica. And honestly, I got so much out of that. The best part for me was really seeing how much they loved it and how much they were relaxing. And then my goal for 2020 is to, because I turned 50, so my goal is to give away to various causes and charities $50,000 during my 50th year. And we started with the Unstoppable Foundation and have paying for everything for a student to go through a 2-year program in mechanics. And the great thing is with this program, they're not only learning the skills, but they're learning about mindset. They're studying Jack Canfield. They're studying Bob Proctor. They're studying the greats in the industry as well. So they are really, imagine the paradigms, the programming that these amazing people are changing. So you've got to be honest with yourself. What do you really want? And are you willing to do what it takes to get there? What do you want personally? What do you want professionally? Because here's the truth. Information is not enough. We've got to break old habits. Good Lord, there's enough information out there. If that was enough, like I said, we would be doing a lot better. So here's the full recap, guys. You must be sold on your product or service. You must change the setting on your sales thermostat. And you must do the things that failures don't like to do. There's the QR code again if you need it. The link is in the chat. I just want you to know, because I've seen it in my own life and for my clients, whether, you know, whether we end up connecting or not, I want you to really leave here knowing that what you want is absolutely possible for you. It absolutely is. And in fact, why not you? Why not you? And that if you have a desire within you, then that is proof that it can happen, because it would not be placed within you if there wasn't a way for it to be expressed. So the first person gets the oyster, the second gets the shell. You may have come up with some ideas for your own business and things that you want to do. I want you to act on that right away. Close the gap between idea and execution. Don't wait for things to be perfect. They never really are. All right, I want to thank you guys. I'm so looking forward to talking to many of you, or those of you that were able to get a spot in. And I just want to thank you. And for those of you that stuck around as well, because we went over, I want to thank you. And you're going to get a recording so you can look at this again. You guys are all amazing. Really, thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up, for being here, and for striving to improve yourself. I think it's amazing. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye for now.